Blog Talk Radio.
God, you are great and you are worthy to be praised. We will praise you all our days. We are your students. Teach us your ways, word by word, page by page. In the Hebrew we say, Elohim, אתה גדול ואתה ראוי לשבחים. אנו נשבח אותך כל ימינו. אנחנו התלמידים שלך, ללמד אותנו את האמת שלך, מילה אחר מילה, דף אחר דף.
It's Talk One's Talk. Talmadim.
I just wanna get the knowledge. Wonder how they got it. I see a different message in the pages and decided to get the understanding that the Father had prescribed them. I'm thinking that it's very concrete. Show us and we will listen. Show us and we listen.
That they took can't change. Context is a must. Any artist can paint. Contains your vision, trust. Moving the picture around like an auction, getting bucks off your often cause you rush from a lost sense in your customs and your ways to the most high is appalling, yeah, that's us. And here's the reason, the cause of it's the gist. Who exactly we pleasing, the Father or the rest? He's set apart, Talmudim wrote his word perfectly, but we often want to change according to our own belief. All we gotta do is read, dig a little deep, learn a little Ibrit. Royal Shabbat by Abba, Eloheinu Aga. All praises to the Father for bringing our knowledge further indeed. I can't start from the beginning and read and make sure it's not preconceived, the man.
Welcome to His Talk One's Talk, where our mission is and has been from the beginning to contextually read the scriptures from the understanding from the people that wrote it, letting go of preconceived notions and any doctrine that hasn't been consistent or doesn't line up. This show is without bias, with the goal to grow together as a family. The call-in number is 516-595-8238, and we are open to any questions or comments. Shalom.
Shalom, shalom, everybody. This is Season 2, Episode 7 of the Reset Button on this Talk One's Talk Radio. In this episode, we'll be discussing chapters 20, 21, and 22, which will close out 1 Kings. So today we'll be completing 1 Kings. I'm very excited to move forward to the 2nd Kings. And some of the main events covered in these chapters that we're going to be going over is Ahab and Israel, the feast of Syrians, which is Aram, in battle. Ahab wickedly possesses Naboth Vineyard. King Ahab dies, and Ahaziah becomes the king of Israel. So those are some of the things that will be covered in today's show. Right now, I believe I have Brother Shema, but I'm waiting on Brother O. So, Brother Shema, I'll let you have the floor for now, and we'll see if Brother O come in.
Shalom, Mishpacha, Shabbat Shalom, family. This is Shema Vineyard, also known as Talmido, his student. We appreciate all of you for tuning in. Let me know if you can hear me if my voice is not loud enough too. But
yeah, you sounding kind of low. I don't know what it is, but the volume just seemed low. I'm having a little hard time hearing you.
Hear me? Okay. I'll just try to talk a little louder.
There you go. There you go.
Again, everybody, this is Shema Ben Yael, Shema Talamido, his student. And I appreciate all of you for tuning in today. I think it's going to be an awesome show. I'm really excited about my chapter, to be honest. Might not seem like it's a lot in chapter 20 of 1 Kings, but I will assure you that there will be some things brought out. I'm ready to move forward. We're about to end this chapter. End this book and go into the next book of Kings. So I really don't have anything extra. I will probably within my chapter bring out something leading up to next week's show, the rest show. So I'll bring that out a little bit within my chapter. I think it hits perfectly or connects perfectly. And I'll leave the rest of the talk for my closing statement. I wonder where. Well, he probably held up a little bit, but I think he has. What chapter? He has the 21st.
He got
chapter,
the last
right?
chapter, so he got time. I just wanted to make sure we all started together. But if he's not here in the next few minutes, I'm going to send him a text right now. But if he's not here in the next few minutes, we'll just continue, and hopefully he shows up before the chapter. But, so while we, wait a little bit, I did want to say I thought it was interesting. This would probably be a good thing for O to be here because, he liked those numbers. So, but I found it kind of ironic that, we finishing out the chapter. Or, you might want to say completing the chapter. And I thought it was funny that this was the 7th episode of this season. So we completing a chapter in 7 episodes. I thought that was kind of interesting, kind of cool. Something that I know he would appreciate. But
yeah, when he come, we can bring that back up because it is funny that it falls on the 7th. You said it's the 7th?
Yeah, today's the 7th show.
Right. And it's kind of like it leads up to our rest show being next week. I think that's cool. And for those that's tuning in, we do have a different like program, so to speak, or for lack of a better word, of how we're operating this season. I know some of you who are tuning in now who probably haven't been for a while or new to his Talk One's Talk Radio, because we have been seeing a lot of new, we haven't seen you personally. There's that Hebraic talk right there, seeing. But we have been noticing a change in the numbers. We really appreciate all of you. So just for those of you that's new to this Talk One's Talk Radio, this is very different this season, coming in with a fixed prayer, speaking the Ivrit language or Lashon, and y'all did an awesome job doing that, and then coming in with like a greeting or how would I say that? A mission statement.
A mission statement.
Right. So I think it's all good stuff, and we're just trying to progress. Also, trying to fill out the time a little bit, kind of waiting on Orek, and that's cool. But also, YouTube. I think y'all is doing a fabulous job with the YouTube videos, you all. And that's actually been helping because a lot of times when we tell people about the show, they always ask, do we have a YouTube? When I talk to people anyway, do you have a YouTube? A lot of people don't like going to Blog Talk Radio and having to sign up. I get it. We would love for YouTube, but we know that YouTube is a bigger scale, is on a bigger scale. So Yah has been making videos attached to the audio file of the show, and he takes his time on it. So if you all would just do him a good service, a good favor, and just check it out when you can, and subscribe to our YouTube. I think that you might just have to type in the search box, His Talk Once Talk Radio. I'm not sure if it's in the URL now, is it? Are they able to type in the URL yet? Do we have to get 100 subscribers first?
Yeah, I think we have to get 100 subscribers. We currently have 3. So I just would encourage everybody that follows along just to go in the search engine, type in His Talk Once Talk Radio, and then once you find us, click on it, and then subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button, and then what that does is, help us to attain that URL, and then at the same time, it also helps you with being notified when, something new has been posted, a new video. So you'll automatically get that notification, and you'll see that something new is up. So once again, I just would encourage y'all to support us in that way.
And to add, I think even with the YouTube, you might have to sign up to actually subscribe. So I guess you just don't get out of subscribing. But YouTube, you can actually go on and listen. But that's the same thing with Blog Talk Radio. You can just go on and listen. So I guess it just depends on you all, and we really will support. I'd love if you would support it, and that way you can get it whenever it pops up. Then get some bread, get some meat, hopefully. And that's all I have, man. That's all I have.
All right. So we just gonna push forward, man. And hopefully our brother calls in before his chapter comes. If not, we'll just do what we gotta do. So as you said, you have chapter 20, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
okay,
sir.
So I'll just pass it to you, and we just get started.
All right. Before we get started, everyone, I just ask if you can just keep our brother in your prayers. We haven't really got a hold of him this morning either, so just want to make sure hopefully everything is safe with him. So anyway, without further ado, we're going to go to chapter 20. Go to chapter 20 of 1 Kings, and we know that this is concerning Ahab, and this is transitioning from we see I believe it was prophet was trying to explain to Ahab, showing him a vision, leading on to this point. And I want to just go ahead and start off with verse 1, right? And it says, Ben-Hadad, king of Aram, gathered together his whole army, and with him 32 kings and horse and chariot. He went up and besieged Samaria and waged war against it. Now, this is, I'm reading from the Stone's edition, just in case those that are listening are like, what in the world is he reading from? So the translation is a little bit different. First, I want to start off by saying in verse 1, just in case, a little history lesson, and correct me if I'm wrong, you did, but Samaria was the capital of northern Yisrael or Israel at the time. A lot of times we read these, and myself, I was one of these. I was just reading, and I just would never connect the dots to some of these lands that was being mentioned at the time. So I wanted to bring out what Samaria was to Israel. All right. And also we see that, where am I at? I'm sorry. So verse 2, he sent messengers to Ahab, king of Israel, into the city, and said to him, Thus said Ben-Hadad, your silver and your gold are mine, and your best women and children are mine. Okay, so we see the King Hadad is boldly calling him out in a sense. And through my studies and my research, I saw that it was a military move. Okay, King Ben-Hadad was taking advantage of this point in time like a weakness, and he discerned it due to the famine that was taking place for about 3.5 years with Ahab. So I think that it was a good move, not from a standpoint of a righteous move, but a military move. And I know that Yah maybe he'll have something to say towards that correction or addition to what I'm saying. Then verse 4, it says, the king of Israel replied, saying, Just as you say, my lord the king, I and all I own are yours. We know kings will not just give up anything like this. It has to be a reason. It has to be something, some holes in their system or a weakness in their system for them to just willingly do this. He wouldn't have just willingly did this. Then he tells him, we go down to verse 5. So he's telling him, what you just said, I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and give you the silver, the gold, and my best women and children are mine. So we're about to see something, the way that Ahab had took what he said. It was a little different from the way that King Ben-Hadad gave it out. So he says, the messenger returned to Ahab and said, Thus spoke Ben-Hadad, saying, I sent word to you, saying, your silver and your gold and your women and your sons you should give to me. Because at this time tomorrow I shall send my servants to you, and they will search your house and the houses of your servants. And it shall be that everything precious in your eyes they will place in their hands and take away. Now, he just added something to that. Now, before I speak on that, I want to go back. When he was talking about the your women and your children, too, a lot of us, when we read this, and this is how I looked at it at first, he was actually literally going to take them along with the gold. But what do people generally do when they try to rule a people? This is something that we got to think of. We think when it's a lot when dealing with the money, the silver, the gold, and everybody that's attached to this ruling party that comes and takes over you. It's something that they do to make sure they got you at their grasp. They tax you. They tax you. So it's not that he was literally taking money and taking the children and the children and the women. It was more so a taxing thing. Everything that you owned, everything that was a part of your system, I want from it. Getting a huge profit through money is the idea. And this will lead up to some points. And remember in the beginning of this show, I was saying I was going to bring something out of my chapter that's going to lead to next week. This is going to lead to when we speaking of the rest show. I'm actually thinking about entitling it, if okay with the other panelists, the redemption or the redemption option. And we're going to have a guest by the name of Elataza Ben Yasharala El. I might have butchered his name. But this is what Ahab originally believed when he said, your silver and gold are mine. This is what I discerned it to be. I would love to see what the panelists or anybody that's listening has to say about it. Okay? So when they wanted the silver, he wanted the gold, and your women and your sons you shall give to me. Even if we think of the United States, I'm going to fast forward. So when you think of like this country, the first thing that happens when the kids are born, and this is what's going to lead to next week, by the way. When the kids are born, what do? They assign their Social Security number towards them, and that is geared towards taxing. That is geared towards taxes. So your kids, your women, your children, all of us is getting connected to the government in some sense. And I know I kind of drifted away, but it's a correlation here in my eyes. Okay, so going down to verse 6. I want to jump down to verse 6. It says, because at this time tomorrow I shall send my servants to you, and they will search your house and the houses of your servants, and it shall be that everything precious in your eyes they will place in their hands and take away. Now, I thought this was very interesting because this is an additional thing. This wasn't the first thing that he put out there on the table with Ahab. So when I did a little more researching on this, because I'm like, okay, it's not really saying what is the things that was precious and dear to him. You know, that could mean anything, right? But why did he involve the elders? Why did he involve the elders with this? He could have just had that conversation or that message and took heed to it, okay? But we do know it is, I guess it's a part of a tradition in the sense we saw this a couple times when they did go to the elders for some advice. But some of the things that I found was it says some say that it's referring to the Torah scrolls because Ahab involved the elders when that demand was made. So I thought that it was interesting. It was an interesting belief as to this scripture, right? Because I myself, I didn't know that was the precious thing to Israel, the Torah. But at the same time, we know it is. Even with the ones that was doing evil things in the eyes of the Most High, they still had a connection to, like, the Ark. You know what I'm saying? The covenant of the Ark, they had that connection. That was their symbol of achievement in some sense. And we know the Torah was within that. I want to go down to verse 9 real quick. So he said to Ben-Hadad's messengers, tell my lord the king everything concerning which you sent word to your servant the first time I should do. But this second thing I cannot do. The messengers left and they brought back a reply. Now hold on. Everything that is precious to you. Now watch this. You come in my house right now. Okay? You could take my TV. You could take all these things. But those are replaceable. You know, jewelry, things of that nature. Some people look at that and say, well, these things are precious to some people, yes. But for me, it'll be my books. My books is precious to me. Things that's concerning documents are precious to me. I have a connection with it. I have a history with it. It actually spills out information of history that I connect with and I identify with. So why is he so against giving anything? Normally they'll do that. Here, take it all. Just let us be. But for the second thing you asked me, I cannot and I will not do. This is why I think that those that kind of perceive this to be the Torah scrolls, I can agree with. You know, this is not. It doesn't say in the scripture, as far as I read, it doesn't say in the scripture, so I'm not saying that to be the case. But I can see why. Okay? I want to go down to verse 11 now. So, before we go to verse 11, let's go to 10 and say, Ben-Hadad sent word to Ahab, saying, such may the gods do to me, and much may they do further, if the dust of Samaria will be sufficient to cover the souls of all the people who accompany me. The king's reply, the king of Israel, which is Ahab, replies saying, tell Hadad, let one who girds his sword not boast like one who unfastens it. I thought that was deep. At this point, it was a turn of the page of Ahab. He got some courage at this point. I don't even know if he recognized the courage at this point, because the Most High has not said anything to him as far as, at this point, I have your back. This saying that he just said, which I'm probably going to use in the future, is basically saying not to boast as if the fight is over. Not to boast as if the fight is over. This might be the origin of It's Not Over Till the Fat Lady Sings. So I thought that this verse was deep. I think that you all should highlight this, man, and use this because, and just remember, we should think wisely before boasting, because if the matter is not over, if it's not perfect, if it's not complete or whole, then it always can change. It always can change. So I want to jump down to verse 15. In verse 15, this is when the Ahab is about to be triumphant. Ahab counted the young sons of the officers of the provinces, and they were 232. Afterwards, he counted all the people, all the children of Israel, and they were 7,000. Now, at this point, the Most High is letting Ahab know that he would deliver him. He would deliver him. And by delivering him, this is going to let him know that he is Yah. Right? He is he who causes to exist. But Ahab's still kind of questioning, when you go up to verse 14, like, through who? How is this going to happen? Now, he said through the sons of the officers of the promises. So I need somebody to verify this. I'm not sure if these sons were youth or were they just sons in the aspect of just calling, like, Israel, like children. Now, if this was sons as in youth, I thought it was extremely important because we were speaking on community-based progress over the last few weeks now. But like we mentioned, part of the community foundation is training the children, right? And let's just say, even if the community progression conversation we was having, it wasn't to take place, I think it's very important, regardless, those that's listening right now, I think it's very important, regardless, that we change our mindsets and train our kids for battle, just in case. Everybody else is doing it, but the so-called black people aren't. So if this is speaking of the children, the youth that are of age, 18 plus, but under, an elderly age or an adult age, imagine if King Ahab had not had these sons or kids or children trained from youth. So I just wanted to put that out there, and I could be corrected by anyone else listening, or let me know your thoughts if you believe this to be children from a standpoint of the beginning age of being able to battle, or if this is just speaking of how the Most High calls Yisrael children. Now I want to read verse 17 through 21 if you all would allow me to. It says, the young sons of the officers of the provinces went out first. Ben-Hadad had sent out scouts who now told him, saying, some men have left Samaria. Now, this could be men because it's talking about men. But he said, if they have come forth in peace, capture them alive. And if they have come forth for war, capture them alive. So he don't even want them to die. He don't even want them to kill them. Verse 19, but these young sons of the officers of the provinces went forth from the city with the army that was behind them. And each man struck down his opponent. Aram fled, and Israel chased after them. Ben-Hadad, king of Aram, escaped on a horse with horsemen. The king of Israel then came out and struck down the horse and the chariot and struck a severe blow in Aram. So we see that the Most High's word does not come back void. But I think this is important. I think this is important right here, what we see taking place. We see that Ahab has been victorious through what the Most High has said was going to happen. But something, a light bulb should come in your head at this point. I have made you victorious against the very people who was against me. And the reason they was against me was because they was against you. So that needs to stay in your head at this point, right? Let's jump down to verse 23. Verse 23 says, the servants of the king of Aram told him, their God is a God of mountains, and therefore they were stronger than us. But let us fight them on the plain. If we will not be stronger than them, this thing shall you do. Remove the kings, each one from his post, and replace them with captains. This is verse 25 coming. And count out for yourselves an army like the army that fell from you, and horse like horse, and chariot like chariot. We will fight them on the plain, and see if we do not overpower them. He hearkened to their voice and did so. So, King, how do you say his name again? The opposing king, I'm going to say, because I can't remember how to say his name. Oh, Ben-Hadad, sorry. Say, okay, I'm gonna do what you mentioned. But here's the problem. What just took place kind of remind me of people today. They will see the power of Yah, right? But they will still try to find a weakness in He that causes to exist, which is Yah. How can you find a weakness in the foundation of everything? That's my question. You just said that they are victorious because they're basically their God sits up high, and this is where this took place. So let's bring them down at a lower place, a lower foundation, a lower plane. Really? You acknowledge that He defeated you here, or they defeated you here through their God, who's above this, but He can't beat us down here. So it reminds me how we see this, but we still try to find some weakness. We just can't take a loss with the Most High and humble ourselves, or the enemy can't anyway. I'm going to go down to verse 31. All right, so 31 says, his servant said to him, behold, we have heard that the kings of the house of Israel are merciful kings. Let us put sackcloth on our loins and ropes upon our heads, and go forth to the king of Israel. Perhaps he will let you live. So we see at this point their plan did not work. They thought that they could become victorious to fight him on some plain instead of up in the mountains. So we knew that did not take place. So now they want to sit up there and try to get under his good graces, right? Verse 32, so they girded their loins with sackcloth and put ropes upon their heads. And they came to the king of Israel and said, your servant Ben-Hadad said, please let me live. So now he's your servant. But we know the definition of a servant. You can't come against the Most High like this and then just try to change like that. It's a process to this. It's things you need to do. Verse, Ahab said, is he still alive? He is my brother. I get it. Verse 33, the men interpreted this as a good omen and seized upon the expression from him and said, your brother Ben-Hadad. And Ahab said, go and bring him. So Ben-Hadad came out to him, and Ahab helped him onto the chariot. 34, Ben-Hadad said to him, the cities that my father took from your father I shall return, and you may control markets in Damascus, just as my father did in Samaria. These verses stick out to me, and it brings a different understanding on the scripts to me. And it also magnifies my understanding in a ruling party manipulation, their tactics. Right? And I'm not saying that in regards to this. I'm saying that in regards to, well, I am actually. I'm saying the consistency and we're about to read what I'm talking about. But I'm saying a consistency on how some of these things do not matter. You can do this all you want, right? Because Yah does not change. We brought out the way that he does change, but it's certain things that he just won't give in to from an enemy standpoint, from someone that's trying to rule his people's standpoint. When did this change happen? So now we see a sealing of a covenant with the enemy of Yah after he made his covenant with you, Ahab, which can be dangerous. So let's go down and read 35. I'm almost done. So he agreed with this covenant. He sealed the covenant with him and sent him off. And this is the end of verse 34. Verse 35. One man of the disciples of the prophet said to his fellow, by the word of Yah, please hit me. But the man refused to hit him. He then said to him, because you did not listen to the voice of Yah, behold, when you go away from me, a lion will strike you down. He went away from him, and a lion came upon him and struck him down. This man put him in a different scenario, almost in the parable sense, but then it was actually a physical sense, because he was relating this back to what just took place, what Ahab did. This is what he's doing right here. Verse 37. Verse 37. I'm not going to read it. Verse 37 through 40. It illustrates it further. He goes on with it again. He tries to illustrate what he brought out further. Okay. And the last thing I want to bring out is verse 42, and this is capitalizing on or giving them the finishing, comment on what I'm trying to bring out. It says, the prophet said to him, thus said Yah, because you sent forth from your hand the man whom I have condemned to destruction, your life shall be in place of his life, and your people instead of his people. This speaks on us taking the condemnation of Yah given to another away, how it can be put back on us. It's kind of like, last thing I'm going to say in regards to this is like Most High can be giving you these clues and trying to win the battle for you, but you just don't want him to win that battle. You want to step in. So guess what? Now since you want to step in and he was trying to win this battle for you, you're going to get the backlash in that. I can attest to that, and I'm sure some of you can. And I want to end it on that note.
Yeah, just want to say great job, man. You went through a lot of stuff. You brought the aspect of reality, which, I'm very fond of. And it was a few things that you hit. I didn't want to jump in while you was talking, but I got some points that were kind of along the lines of what you was talking about, so I want to go through those. The first thing, I guess we could look at. I like the point that you hit with him coming to it. I guess I could address that first. Him coming to him, talking about the, like whatever's yours is mine type of deal, like the whole tax setup type of deal. Like I kind of seen that when a king is like in a very high position, kind of seen that with Shlomo or Solomon, where like everybody was coming to him and they was bringing him stuff. You know what I'm saying? Now I don't know if Shlomo demanded those things, but it just it looks like a pattern of how, when a king is at a high stature amongst, various kings in surrounding land, it seems like this is the type of behavior that happens. I think it was very interesting how you said that, you kind of tied it to the whole, how it is today, like the taxes and the government and all that stuff like that. Like, I think that was a very interesting and possibly valuable point that you brought out, because everything has an origin to it. When we read these scriptures and these historical documents or these ancient writings and stuff like that, for me, I kind of look at it, I look at it from a, standpoint of, okay, you have the category of religion. You have these different categories, but ultimately it's history, you know what I mean? And you kind of see the way people used to think back then and the way they operated back then, leading up to, how we are today. So when I look at that stuff, I kind of keep an open mind of, okay, this is how they operated, this is how they thought. And we all know that things are passed down through the generations. Some things change, with new generations, but ultimately somebody had to start something, even with language. You know what I'm saying? Somebody was the first person to speak and to begin to develop some type of form of communication by speech. And same thing with writing. Things evolve. So, I always like to hear stuff or kind of analyze things in that way. Kind of see what I wanted to hit on. It was kind of, as you was talking, I was like, man, do I want to say this? Do I want to say that? And then I'm kind of trying to listen to you and figure out what I'm going to say. So, I got to figure out a better way of handling that. I'm usually pretty good about it, but I'm just going to kind of pick some things. I had some things noted out that, like I said, you kind of hit already. So let me just go to verse 4. I think verse 4 has something in there that's I feel like was significant. Just the fact that it says, I'm reading out the KJV, it says, and the king of Israel answered and said, my Lord, O king, according to thy saying, I am thine, and all that I have. What I want to focus on is the fact that, just the terminology that he used. He said, my Lord, O king. You know what I mean? It just seems that, this is common language, you know what I'm saying, that they used back then. It wasn't, nothing significant to the point to where, it has to be something that we nowadays feel like is beyond common speech. Back then, like we've been seeing this, like common speech, any type of king, that they would address or speak about, they would say, my Lord, so on and so forth, O king or whatever. But, we did notice that with David it was like amplified, but yet and still, I think just because the stature of David's kingship, I think that's why, we saw it so much. But I just think amongst kings or amongst servants to kings, like they addressed that higher authority as such. So I just wanted to point that out. Another thing, I know you kind of hit on it, but the word of the prophet was fulfilled in verse 19 through 21. So we saw that the word came forth from the prophet, and it was fulfilled in 19 through 21. And then when you go to 22, you know, we saw that the prophet came back and told him, you know, strengthen himself and to go up against the king of Syria, which again is Aram, you know, which goes back to the people of not Israel, but you know that they come from who's the one slept with his daughters? His name slipped my mind.
Lot?
Is it Lot? Was it Lot? Lot had Moab, and who else he had?
Yeah, they slept with his daughter. Slept with him. But I know the Aram is like a Mesopotamia.
Aram, it came
like that,
from.
Syria?
What's that?
Are you speaking more so of like the person, or are you speaking of like, you know, the region? Like, if I'm not mistaken,
okay,
correct?
so the person, Aram,
okay.
You know, let me just say he's from Shem. He's
Shem, yeah.
Shemite.
Shem. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's what I really want to say. You know, they in the same category of people going back, basically. Which we all, in some way, going back is from the same person, but I'm just saying out of the three sons of Noah. So, yeah, but that's why, because, you know, in the KJV it say Syria, so I just wanted everybody to know that that's, you know, the same. Syria is, you know, Aram. It's interchangeable. But I think probably the biggest thing that I wanted to kind of elaborate on was in verse 23, where it talks about where they said their gods are gods of the hills, therefore they were stronger than we, but let us fight them in the plain, and surely we shall be stronger than they. So I think this comes from just the ideology of the people, like the brother was saying, he who causes to exist, Yah, is, you know, recognized as, you know, the creator of the heaven and earth, like God of, you know, of all, you know, the most high power. So I think from their ideology of, you know, worshiping various gods, if you notice they say gods, you know, they're gods, you know, but Israel or Israel, they have monotheistic belief system. And so, you know, you can see in their speech, you know, that they believed a little different. And so because of that, I believe that's why they said what they said, the gods of the hills, because I believe I had a conversation with a brother, and he was talking about, you know, the Canaanite gods and all this, and how they viewed it. It was like some mountain gods, like El was a mountain god or whatever. And so, you know, just this way of thinking could cause them to believe that, okay, they defeated us in the mountains because, you know, they gods are gods of the mountains. You know? And so they like, you know, we take them down here in this valley, they won't prevail because, you know, their gods are basically mountain gods. And so, you know, if we fight them up there, you know, their gods are going to be with them because, you know, we fighting where they're the power is, basically where that power comes from, which is in the mountains. So we kind of see this type of ideology, this thought process of how they viewed, in the ancient time, some of these people, how they viewed gods, how, what they thought was, like, it was a sky god, it was a mountain, it was a god for everything, that's how they thought. So, to them, they figure, well, let's take them into a different realm and we can get them. But, what I really liked about this passage when they said that is how, the Most High was like, okay, fight them in the valley so they can see that I'm not a mountain god, basically is what I got from it. I'm not just the god of the mountains, I'm the god of the valley too. I'm the god, whatever god they think, I'm the god of that god. I control the elements, So, like, I think that was very powerful just to read that in Scripture. And another thing, Ahab called Ben-Hadad his brother in verse 32. But that was something that I looked at. I know they're not related. And so that was kind of interesting as well. I was wondering what, if anybody else had caught that and what they thought about that. But for me...
I think that, oh, go ahead, sir.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I think that, like you brought out how they, they address each other as king and my lord, right? I think that's a culture thing, because he still is, like you brought out, they still are connected in some sense, because they are both from Shem. So I think it can be like a distant relative type of lingo, or, I mean, we call each other bro now too, but I think more so in their culture, from what I'm reading, I think it's a certain connection they had amongst each other, because we saw with Bowie, we saw how he acted towards those that were considered family in a sense, with the nation, but then how he acted towards another king that he was facing. He didn't have that respect at all to them in a fighting or enemy sense. But we see that right here, Ahab, even though he has defeated Ben-Hadad, he's embracing him. So I don't know if it's more so because of the family relation, perhaps, or what.
Yeah, I was way I was kind of looking at it just in the context of it all. I know you had brought out that they made a covenant, they made an agreement, and I think because of that, when you make a bond with somebody, then it's like they become like your brother. I don't know if that makes sense, but to those listening, but what I'm trying to say basically is, like, you don't call people your brother, like, if they're your enemy or whatever. Like, as you just said, they went to war, so they had a battle, but then after that they made a covenant. So, like,
he called him a brother before the covenant made. He actually he called him brother right before the covenant.
Let me see.
It was verse 32, the end of 32. He called him a brother, and then the 34 is when the covenant was made. They asked him in 30. Wait, no, 30. Yeah, it was after 32. It was after 32. So 32 is when he called him the brother, and then they asked him in 33. The man interpreted, "This is good. See, blah blah blah. Go and bring him." So when he came out, and Ahab helped him to the chariot, and then we see down here it says Ahab agreed, and with this covenant. So they made an agreement after 32. 32 was the brother, and then they went to go get Ben-Hadad, and then Ben-Hadad gave him a suggestion, a sense, or whatever, and this is when they had that covenant. If I'm wrong, let me know.
No. I'm reading it. I'm looking at it. I guess in context of it, so they went to ask to see, like, where he stood as far as, like, between the two. Like, he sent his messengers to kind of fill him out, you know what I'm saying, after the whole battle thing. They wanted to fill him out, like, see where he was at. And he was like, he's my brother. Basically asked, is he still alive? He is my brother. So, the people that what I noticed is that he only asked about him. That was his only concern. So, and then after that, it seemed like they made, let me see, to say something. Okay, and they replied that, yeah, he your brother, right? So it was kind of like as if they was trying to fill it out, like, they wanted to see where he stood between them two. And he was like, that's brother. They was like, yeah, that's your brother. Then they made the covenant. So that's kind of interesting, just how that all went down. I guess I would have to kind of relook at that and just kind of see how that would be. We got one in the queue. So since we just having this conversation here, we go ahead and let him in. I believe this is Brother Jeff. Brother Jeff, you're live.
Well, shalom, everyone. Glad to be here. It's been a while, but I'm glad to see that the show is still going strong. And I just wanted to comment a little bit on the chapter too. It's been a lot of good input on the chapter. I was just thinking about also in that same light how Ahab had already seen how the Most High was definitely showing in favor with that first incident they had, how they won the victory, and then he come back and they God, the Most High is showing them how I'm not just the God of the hills, but the valleys. What I saw is like something that's been like two things really I wanted to point out. First of all, how we have this has been going on with this covenant thing, even back with Joshua in Joshua 9, where the Gibeonites actually pulled kind of like the same thing that Ben-Hadad did right here, because I see right there where they were saying, hey, the Gibeonites, they said that we were not from this land. They didn't tell them the truth. And then it was time for Joshua to go ahead and take them out. They couldn't because they had made a league or a covenant with them. But back there in chapter 9 of Joshua, how it says that, they didn't seek the counsel of Yah before they entered into that agreement. So here we also have with Ahab. Now the prophet's been coming to you, telling you, hey, that's what the Lord says. It's gonna, this is gonna happen, and it happened, not only once but twice. But I see how the defeated king, how they were saying back here in 30, a couple of those verses up, they said they heard about how merciful, the kings of Israel were. So then they put on their little clothing. You know how it is when you done did something wrong and then you threw or they got you and you're like, please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. I'm so sorry. You weren't sorry just a while ago. You're trying to kill me. So I think at this point, everything that's been said is true, but I also see how they kind of like took advantage of the mercy that the kings of Israel had shown in the past. So they put on the sackcloth, they played their role, went up, and I guess when Ahab saw them, they did have that mercy and compassion. But yet again, before I make a covenant with you or any type of agreement, why not go back and get with the prophet who actually brought you the word of the Lord about the success that you were going to have? So now he's taken it upon himself to make a covenant, with this defeated king. And then it goes back to when we see with even King Saul, you're given specific instructions. Samuel told you to kill, the king. nah, you want to spare his life. Then when you see Samuel come on board, he's like, man, what you doing? So he immediately go ahead and he does what, he had initially told King Saul to do, and he kills that king. And then again, just like any father, if you don't do what I tell you to do, there's going to be some consequences. So I see that that happening right here. I think that King Ahab just got played. He should have just, got with the prophet to see, okay, what do we do from here? He's approached us. He's asking for mercy. And then the last thing I want to point out is I really like how the prophets, how the Most High uses the prophets to like announce the judgment or the consequences. So that's when I go back to how David and Bathsheba, how Nathan he painted this pretty story and like, yeah, it was a little lamb, and David, what would you do? I'll kill the man. So then he said, well, you're that man. So, and then the same way here with this prophet who's coming up saying, hey, smite me, and then the guy didn't smite him, and then alienate him, but then he asked the other guy to smite him, and he injured him. But it's like a sense of humor, if you will. It's like instead of the prophet just coming up to Ahab and saying, because you didn't do this, this is going to happen to you. So a lot of times when I talk to people, I'm accused of, well, you take too long, you take the scenic route. Why don't you just get to the point?
Wow, we were just talking about this last week.
I see in this case, and sometimes I tell them, like, well, that's just who I am. I just can't get to the point. And then I say, well, if you would read in the scriptures, you would see that, not only am I made in his image and his likeness, but he doesn't always get to the point. He tells a story. Wow. So here's the prophet giving this story, this and that. And he said, yeah, and that's what's going to happen to you. So I think in that aspect, I like it because instead of just announcing what's going to happen, he wants to let them know exactly what they did by painting a scenario and getting a response from them. And then that way they can see not only the error of their ways, but also see why don't come at me like, please don't do this, because you even understand that if you were in this position, you would do the same thing that I'm about to do to you right now. So that's the thing that I noticed with this right here, and I just see it's important that if there is a prophet in the land, or if there's somebody that is giving you counsel or guidance, and it's been successful, then why not consult with them in all your ways, especially in this case when the king has just been defeated, and now you're just going to sit up here and let him come in with some sackcloth and spare his life, and not only spare his life, but make a covenant with him. So that's all I wanted to put out there. That was a scenic route, but that's just how I am. Thank
you. Yeah, that was some good stuff. I like that you kind of went the route that you went concerning the concerning how he got played, because we tend to not think about some of those earlier scenarios where, even I would even say with Dawid, you know what I mean? Like he kind of got played by Shaul, King Saul. He kind of was just like, I've been seeing like a real soft side, and I would want to like ask, like, what do y'all think about that? Do you think
I was waiting on
we as a people are just too soft and we gullible?
I believe.
I mean, because I'm kind of going off, but even that joke that people make where they said, they pulled up on us in the land and was like, hey, we got a free cruise. And we got on the boat. You know what I'm saying? What's y'all thoughts?
I
like
think,
that
man,
angle
to answer that question real quick, I think that you got a point. I don't want to say we gullible. I want to say even when you look at Shimshon, when you look at any of the people and the men of Elohim or Yah, it's some sort of, we have this sense of giving the benefit of the doubt, or not benefit of the doubt, but giving, like, man, this person can change type stuff. Like, we have this spirit of us in that sense. Is this what I'm seeing, man? Like, I'm seeing that all the way from Adam. And the crazy thing about it is, man, I'm not going to say this because I didn't see it on this point, but every other point that you done mentioned, it has something to do with the beautiful and wonderful woman. No offense to my women out there, y'all, because it's bad men and bad women out there, you know. But I'm just trying to think of it. I'm like, when he said, "Are we gullible?" I'm looking at Adam. I'm looking at Shimshon, or Adam and Shimshon, or Samson. I'm looking at Dawid, even though he didn't go for the daughter ways, you know. I don't know. It's just crazy that you asked that question. I can't even. I'll be done on that one. I'm done on that one. But I want to say I think it's more so something to do with how we operate within our heart. That's the only thing I could think of.
Right. So the way I guess what I'm asking exactly is just with these kings. You know what I'm saying? Like, how Brother Jeff brought out, and I want Brother Jeff to chime in on this once I'm done, because he the one brought the theme of it all together. So it just seems like when you do actually look back, just like how he said, like, I think one of the most powerful ones he mentioned was Joshua, you know, how Joshua got played, how they came and act like they wasn't from the land and all this, and like just the compassion, like, and this ain't nothing, you know. It's crazy because first and foremost, I don't agree with racism at all, you know, and a lot of times when, you know, the brothers on the street that be, you know, in the suits that be yelling at people, you know, that's how people identify them, so that's why I'm saying it like that. But you have different camps, you know, that are street camps. They go out, you know, on Shabbat, and they stand out on the corners and they yell at people and they talk about, you know, Esau, so on and so forth, being you know, white or whatever. And you know, I don't agree with that, but one of the things that they always say is like, you know, you love your oppressor, blah, 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 like, you know, this and that. And they say that, which, again, like I said, I don't totally agree with it, but looking at from the aspect of this, I would have to kind of reanalyze it. Like, I just think the approach, first and foremost, is just not right. But in, you know, reanalyzing it, I would have to say, you know, there is something within it that should be considered. Let me say it like that. You know, that within that, you know, because they be like, you know, you love your oppressor, blah, blah, you know, they coming like that, but maybe what they mean is not being expressed properly. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe if they would say, you know, like, y'all gullible, or, you know, we have to stop being so gullible, you know, we have to kind of, you know, and or give examples like Brother Jeff did of it, it would kind of be a little more easier to take in, if you know what I mean. But Brother Jeff, before we move forward to this next chapter, because I ain't have nothing else, Brother Shema addressed 42, and you addressed it too, about how the judgment, you know, came back because he didn't do what he was supposed to do. So after you go, and if any of us don't have anything to say, I'm going to roll into the next chapter. But if you would, speak on it a little bit.
Yeah, I would have to say I'm in the same boat with Brother Shema, because you know, I made the observation. But now I'm sitting here as you all are talking, and I'm thinking, like, yeah, that is true. So why? I'm even like that myself. There's been a couple of occasions to where I knew, you know, at least I thought or had a feeling that, you know, I should be doing this. But it's like that compassion, you know, having that compassion towards people. I can only say I heard this one example was about, and I'll just leave it with this. A guy said that there was this rattlesnake that was cold, and it was speaking to this guy that was walking by and said, "Could you just pick me up and put me in your jacket? I'm cold. You know, I won't bite you. I promise." And he said, "Oh, it's okay, I can do it." So he picks the rattlesnake up, and then the rattlesnake bites him. Then he says, "Well, why'd you bite me?" He said, "You knew I was a rattlesnake when you picked me up." So it was kind of like, it's kind of like that. It's like knowing that even though these, you know, this is the oppressor, and this guy had just got through, you know, trying to kill you and destroy you, Vineyard. But then when he comes, and in a certain way, because now they're humble, and it's like, you know, I'm trying to, you know, I'm sorry for what I did, and then I guess it's just in us to have that compassion towards people in general. But I guess that's where we actually need to stay in tune with the Most High, so He can give us discernment and guide us. Like, yeah, I understand you want to have compassion, but right now you don't need to have it in this aspect or in this case. So I think that's what happens even with the prophets. You know, like I said, as long as they were listening to the prophets, then they were guided in the right direction. But then it seems like when the prophets weren't around, or if they did not seek counsel from the Most High, then that human side of them actually takes over and shows compassion. So then I guess it's kind of like operating, if you want to say, in the body or the flesh, if you will, and then that's not good. So definitely a good question. So I'm kind of going with Brother Shimon and say, hey, look, I'm going to have to get back with you on that, because right now I'm trying to ask myself, why do I do that as well?
And you know what? I want to add to what he said.
You low, brother, you low.
I think that us bringing this up.
It sounds like you in another room.
I don't know what to do. I'm talking loud right now.
Yeah, it's low. Brother Jeff, would you say he low, or is my phone tripping?
Yeah,
can you hear me now?
Low. Yeah, I hear you now.
We can hear you now. Yeah.
What was I about to say? I think it's good that we're bringing this out because, one, it lets us know probably what we need to work on. And what Jeff brought out, actually, he brought out, about 5 minutes ago, he should have went to the prophet first. And we see that. We see that consistently up to this point. Like, what happens when they didn't? What happens when they did? Because naturally, I think even taking out the fact of being Israel, I think naturally, should be naturally, those is not evil, people want to be right with the other person. Naturally, unless they're evil. I want to be, so it's like he didn't carry out, just like I had said when I was finishing the chapter. I messed up in this fashion. I'm sure y'all did in certain times, maybe not, I don't know. But it's like he's trying to get you out trying to give you victory in this matter, get you out of this situation. But you want to sit up and hold on to it. Giving you the answers, but you don't want to sit there and just really ask him. And when I say ask him, it's still saying the same thing Jeff's saying, because guess what? The prophet is speaking as the Most High, because guess what? What happened with this man of God? He spoke as him. He said, this is going to happen to you. He spoke as the Most High. So we need to go to him on matters that, before we just go back and just accept somebody's that's what I was saying this last thing I'm saying, I'm sorry, y'all. That's what I was saying when I was like, man, when did it change? As far as just forgiving an enemy of the Most High. When did it change? I have not seen it yet. Up to this point, we see how he even reacts when you do. Okay, guess what? It's going to be on you now, since you didn't allow me to do what I put out to do for you. So when did that change? So I want to end it by saying, yes, I think we should do what Jeff mentioned. And I think that we should really apply that, man. We can't just be saying this on this show. And I know that's not none of you brothers, but I'm glad you all brought this out. We all brought this out. And I think this can help us with our walk. That's it.
All right, we're going to move forward. I just got word from O, so maybe he'll show up here in the next few minutes. But I'm going to go ahead and roll into my chapter, Brother Jeff. Thank you for your input. And I'm going to mute your mic. Go ahead and hit one. And then whenever you're ready to come back in, just hit one again. All right, moving into chapter 21. All right, the main topic is Naboth's Vineyard. So, as we go into it, you'll see at the beginning of the chapter, King Ahab asked for Naboth's Vineyard in verse 2. And then in verse 3, Naboth refuses to give the vineyard to Ahab. I would like to read that. It says, and Naboth said to Ahab, the Lord forbid it me. We know that that Lord is he who causes to exist, the Tetragrammaton. And so just with that, just starting off with that, you know, he asked for the vineyard, and he say the Most High forbid it. You know, basically, like, the Most High is not in agreement with me doing this. So I just like his response just in the very beginning of him responding, like that was within his response. It wasn't like, nah, I'm not doing that or whatever. He just like, you know, the Most High forbid it, you know. And then as he continued, say that I should give the inheritance of my fathers unto thee. So we just see how serious, you know, giving things that was given to you. And I think he said, you know, Yah forbid because of the setup. Yah the one set it up with the inheritance, you know, when they came into the land. You know, he delegated the authority for them I believe, Joshua, I think is where they first cast lots, and that this land was, you know, that this portion was going to this tribe, so on and so forth, and then that tradition continued. So the land was passed from generation to generation to the son. And so I just see that they held that dearly, like, you know, they felt like it was a gift from on high. And, you know, it was just something that you're not just going to give away, even though, you know, Ahab had offered, you know, he offered him, you know, money for it. He offered to give him the worth of it in money. He offered to give him a better vineyard, you know, but he was like, you know, I don't want nothing else. Like, I want to keep, because it was like, it's tied to your family. Like, that's how I perceive it. You know, it was an honor to take over, you know, something that belonged to your father or your forefather. So it just like that heritage being rooted in them, you know, I think that's something special. I don't see that with us today, you know, things being passed down like an heirloom or something like that. Like, you know, back in the day they had that. I mean, if you watch Roots, you know, the whole story of Kunta, like, you seen that culture. I think it changed, like, our culture shifted, you know, just going through slavery and things of that nature. It's just like things are different from reading in ancient times, how they looked at certain things. and I'm not sure if I go to Africa today, because I know, a lot of people don't understand also that Africa was affected. It was slavery in Africa. Europeans came and, colonized and all stuff like that too. So it didn't just happen with people getting on ships and being transported to other places. It actually happened also, in some areas of where people were taken. So, I don't know. Maybe in some places, it's different too. You had to get to some of those like ancient tribes that like tribal type people that still had that same culture. Moving forward, you in verses 4 through 6, you'll see the response to this refusal, and it was kind of crazy because he didn't want to eat. He went home heavy, it says, and displeased, and he laid down in his bed and he wouldn't eat. So these are like signs that we today are like associated with depression. I don't know if they called it or had diagnosis back then, but these are signs that we today medically recognize as signs of depression. So I could pretty much say he was depressed by this response. And so Jezebel, his wife, gets involved in an affair. And then after that, starting at verse 9, we see kind of how she got involved, the importance of what she did. So in 9, you see, it says, and she wrote in the letters saying, proclaim a fast and set Naboth on high among the people. Verse 10, it says, and set 2 men, sons of Belial. Now, we talked about these sons of Belial. It's kind of like saying sons of wickedness, sons of worthlessness. These are like terms. These are not actual like descendants of Belial. Belial means wickedness or worthlessness. We talked about that, which is terminology that we don't see later on. But so far, this has been a constant term that they use, like a slang or something like that. But before him to bear witness against him, saying, thou didst blaspheme God and the king, and then carry him out and stone him that he may die. So, she decides to get him X'd out, basically, so the land can be taken. And so that was her little plot. And we know what the Most High prescribed for people bearing false witness. So basically, she went and conjured up some false witnesses to get them X'd off. And so after that, we seen that it actually happened that way, and Naboth was framed and killed, according to the instructions laid out in the letter by Jezebel. And then, so Ahab, he took the vineyard in accordance with the words of Jezebel in 15:16, because, after it happened, she went back and told him about it, that he was dead and go claim the land, so on and so forth. All right. And so after that, immediately, well, I wouldn't say immediately because I don't know the time frame, but earlier than later, we see that he who causes to exist spoke to Elijah. Now, Elijah is the prophet. I wasn't here last week, but they went over some things that Elijah accomplished in the 4 previous chapters. So in 17, it says, "And the word of the Lord came to Elijah, the Tishbite, saying, Arise, go down to meet Ahab, king of Israel, which is in Samaria. Behold, he is in the vineyard of Naboth, whether he is gone down to possess it." So, 19, "And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, Hast thou killed and also taken possession? And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith the Lord, In the place where the dogs lick the blood of Naboth, shall dogs lick thy blood, even thine." So, basically the judgment, has come to him. And he says, basically, you done killed Naboth. You done took possession of what was his. It wasn't yours. This is covetousness right here. He wanted something that wasn't his. And it led to, the death. We seen that with David. He coveted the man's wife. And I think this is why covetousness is a big sin in the Big Ten, is because it leads to other sins. Murder, because I believe it's a difference between killing somebody for no reason, basically because you want something that's not yours, that belongs to them, and you kill this person. So it sounded like Shemai, you wanted to say something.
No, I was just going to say Uriah, the Hittite. When you were saying the man.
Okay. Putting his name out there. Okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Moving to 20, Elijah visits King Ahab to deliver the word of Yah. That's in verse 20. Like I said, I would like to read it so y'all could hear what the word was. It says, "And Ahab said to Elijah, Hast thou found me?" So he delivered the word, but then in verse 20, Ahab responds. He said to Elijah, "Hast thou found me, O my enemy?" It's funny because he calls him an enemy, right? And he never, tried to attack him so far. You never seen, we haven't read that. We haven't seen what he really did to him, but we're going to get to that as we go forward. "O my enemy," and he answered, "I have found thee, because thou hast sold thyself to work evil in the sight of the Lord." It's crazy because, it seems like this role that he's taken on as being a prophet, and he's like, basically, I found thee because, thou hast sold thyself to work evil in the sight of the Lord, Tetragrammaton. So he's saying that, look, I found you only because of a certain reason. I'm not out here stalking you. I'm not out here, and it's kind of crazy, because he comes because he had worked this evil. He did this evil deed, and the Most High came to him for him to, go and give him a word. So it's like, look, I'm not stalking you. I'm not, you see me as an enemy. Look, I'm just here to deliver a word. I think they said on the last show, don't kill the messenger. I'm just a messenger. I just came to bring you a message. I'm not really concerned with you. So I like that approach. I like, it shows me that mindset of Elijah. And so Elijah speaks the word to Ahab in 20 through 24. And some of the things, I'm not going to read it verbatim, but some of the things that were said to be done was that he was going to take away his posterity or descendants. Basically, what it means is, and that's I saw that as being big. You know, let me see, 21. If you look at 22, it kind of explains it a little bit. It says, "And will make thine house like the house of Jeroboam, and also by Shah and Ahijah." And we know what he did to them. He basically said, "I would like wipe you out." And so, like, far as your descendants, you wouldn't have anybody coming after you, you know, to serve in these positions, because we know that the kingship was passed down through the generations, and he's basically the same thing. And then he also talks about Jezebel's body will be eaten by dogs. And so that's the judgment right there. And then the last thing was in 28 and 29. It says that Ahab humbled himself. And I kind of want to read that to get an idea of what that looked like, you know. And the word of the Lord came to Elijah, the Tishbite, saying, "Seest thou how Ahab humbled himself before me? Because he humbleth himself before me, I will not bring the evil in his days, but in his son's days will I bring the evil upon his house." So just the fact that, let me go up. I meant to hit 27 as well before I go into 28, 29. It says that basically he rent his clothes and put sackcloth upon his flesh and fasted and laid in sackcloth and went softly. So basically what's going on, you know, he went, tore his clothes, put on some sackcloth, basically like slave clothes, and went softly. So, you know, he that was seen as him humbling himself. He fasted as well. So what I'm seeing, what I've been seeing, is fasting is a form of humbling yourself. That's what I see. And then I also see that, you know, him putting on some lesser clothing is humbling himself too. And what I get from 28, 29 is that the Most High saw that and that he honored that and said, you know, I'm still going to do what I said I'm going to do, because I ain't going back on my word, but, you know, and I'm still displeased, but what I will do is, you know, I'm not going to bring it upon his house in his days. I'm going to wait till his son come up on the scene, and then I'm going to do what I got to do. So, you know, that was kind of a key thing that I saw that kind of stuck out to me. And with that, that is the closing of chapter 21 as far as what I have. And I'll open the floor to Brother Shemai and anybody that want to come and speak their piece on it.
Yeah. Man, you touched on everything, actually. What I did want to say, really didn't really have anything to say to Jezebel. But what I did want to say is we see the same thing that happened with Dawid. You all, or was it, I think it was just you, I don't think Jeff did, but you brought up the scenario with the Dawid and the Uriah. now you see the same treatment that Samuel, I believe it was, right? Shemuel. The Most High did through Shemuel to David when bringing him a message, and then David repented. Though he repented, he was able to live. The things that he said it was going to take place still had taken place. That's the same thing happening here with Ahab. But the message that I want to put out there with these two scenarios, these two instances, these two events is you don't just be forgiven like that. Yes, you are forgiven. The Most High is merciful. Yes, the Most High gives grace. It's always been around. Mercy on those who he wants to give mercy to, right? But you still got to pay for your sin in some way. He can forgive you. He will forgive you, especially if you repent. But you still got to pay for your sin. When did this change? I know why. And I'm going to stop there because I could feel the presence of your daddy eye. Homie saying, keep it here. Don't go further with it, because I really want to say something, but I'm not. My God is very merciful, y'all. But it would not be fair for me to do some crazy stuff and harmful things to other people, or for me to be just disobedient to him. Let me make sure I use two different scenarios, because people will run with the doing somebody wrong. That's why you're getting hurt. That's what they did with Job. We're not there yet. Sorry. And they was wrong. But also in this case, it's being disobedient. You can't just be disobedient and expect no consequences. That is not how he operates. That is not even morally justifiable. It's not even justice. And so something has to happen to pay it back. That's all I got. But I do want to say he repented, and that was pretty cool how he gave him, this chance. So.
All right. We got Brother Jeff back in the queue. Brother Jeff, you alive?
Yeah, so I just want to say it was a good coverage of that chapter as well. And I was just it kind of gave a little input on the question that was asked earlier. So I just looked at how Jezebel, like you stated, blasphemy was definitely punishable by death. So in order to get, her husband what he wanted, she utilized, the actual process, go into a fast, set him up on high, have two people accuse him of blasphemy, and then, of course, they would stone him. So even though that is how it's supposed to happen, Jezebel took what is righteously and justice and used it in an evil way just to get what she wanted. And that was the same way with Vineyard. You notice how after everything transpired, Elijah told Ahab his punishment, but then he automatically went and put on sackcloth. But that was the same thing to Vineyard, if I'm saying his name right. They heard about the mercies of the kings of Israel, so they also put on sackcloth. So at this point, I'm boasting and bragging, thinking I'm better than the Most High. But then when I am defeated, well, let me go ahead and, did he really humble himself out of sincerity, or was it like, look, I don't want him to kill me, so let me go ahead and do what all they've been doing. I heard about what they did, just put on some sackcloth, and then, I'm sure they'll show me some mercy. But then bringing it to a close, how we see how Ahab did the same thing. And then, like you said, even though, Brother Shemai, you still going to get there's some consequences, all right? But in this case, it wasn't going to happen during his time, but later on. But I think that's probably where it comes from. I think we even see the Most High having compassion in that aspect. Yeah, I'm going to punish you, but I'm not going to let it happen, during your time. And it was a result of Ahab humbling himself. So I guess it's not just a human thing. I guess it's just the way the Most High is as well. I'm still punish you, but because you humbled yourself, I can show you a little mercy in this aspect. Same with David and all the others. So I guess it would be safe to say I would rather let him make that decision on what he gonna do and not do, versus me taking it upon myself as the king and say, you know what, I'll go ahead and show you some mercy. So it's not really their decision to make. And I guess that's why the Most High was kind of displeased from the very beginning when they asked for a king, because I guess he foresaw how these circumstances would come about. You'll probably bump your head and think that just because you're the king, you can make decisions without me. And I guess that's why, that's what he's saying coming to pass. So good coverage over that chapter. And then I think there was something else that I was going to ask later on, but as far as the blood, licking up his blood, I'll just wait till the next chapter to get on that one. Something about Ahab, because I noticed whenever he does, the prophet says whatever, I know the Most High is specific. So I was going to ask a question about a location, how he talked about the blood later on in the next chapter. And that's all I had.
All right, that was some good input, Brother Jeff. Really appreciate that. It was something you said that made me want to say something else. I think it was about them using the law wickedly, and just knowing the system is kind of what I got from it. Just like because they know the system don't mean that, like some people know the system just to get over, basically, and know how to get it, And then I like the part you talked about the king, which we all had talked about before, is how we, kind of perceived it, because the Most High is just. He's the holy of the holies. And, he's not going to, as being in a king role, he's not going to allow certain things. And we've seen since the kings came on the scene, they kind of felt like being in that position that they could do what they wanted to do in the times that they wanted to do it. We even see that the one mistake that the word proclaims that David made, he did that in a position. He wouldn't have been able to do that in a certain position, if he wasn't in that position. He wouldn't have been able to make that happen like that. So I definitely get the point that you made. I appreciate it. I think it was something else I wanted to say, but it kind of slipped me. But I'm gonna go ahead and mute your mic. And
hey, I wanna do a proposition. That's the word I'm looking for. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, I wasn't, because he's Orech's not here, right? So we got another chapter. I'm gonna leave this up to you. Either you take lead on a chapter, right? Or what if we allow either Brother Mercy or Brother Jeff to have the next chapter if they was, I know I'm putting them on the spot, but, because I see Brother Mercy just came in the queue. What if we allowed one of them to take the chapter if they wanted to? If they don't want to, then we'll just continue and keep it moving like we normally do. But I was just wondering. We can do something.
Okay. Brother Mercy is in the queue. I believe this is Brother Mercy. I'm going to let him in and see what he got to say. And then, I'm not opposed to one of them taking it if they prepared to take it and would like to.
Right, because I heard Jeff speaking on it. Sounded like he, I heard Brother Jeff speaking on it. I know it sounded like he,
Yeah, it sounded like
Probably.
because he said he wanted to ask a question, he was going to wait. So it looked like he done studied, ahead, enough to be able to take it. So let me let Brother Mercy in. And Brother Jeff, if you are prepared to do that and you would like to, no pressure, hit one, and then we'll just let you take the chapter. And if not, just don't hit one. Don't put yourself in the queue, and we'll keep it moving, or we'll see if Brother Mercy would be prepared to take it. So, Brother Mercy, you're live.
Yeah, brothers, happy Sabbath. I just wanted to say, brothers, that this is a good story. I like to think of it like like the government, like the country we live in, the great nation we live in. If the government come in and say they want your land, you have to surrender it at the price they give you.
I knew Brother Mercy was going to come with this perspective, but I love it. You know what I'm saying? I love this type of talk. Keep it coming.
And so I just wanted to say, Jezebel, to some extent, if I wanted to be the devil's advocate, to some extent, she has a point here. And when the king says something, I mean, come on now. When the government says, okay, I ain't going to use the king, I use the government. The government today knock on your door and say, because there was a time, my grandmother's time, she said that black people own, like, in North Carolina, where my grandmother lived, they own, like, the whole coast near the water, the whole beachfront. They owned all this land, acres of land, when they came out of slavery. I didn't know this. They said North Carolina, black people own, like, a large part of the land initially when they came out of slavery. But they own less land now today, though, Judge Dyer. They own less land today. But back then, see, this is what I love my grandma, because she can tell me history. She said black people own more land in my day. But the government came in and said, we want to build a base. And they paid them like 5 cents an acre. Paid them like 5 cents an acre, Jedediah. 5 cents an acre. 5 cents an acre.
That's interesting that you brought that up, because I mean they still do that today. You know what I mean? If somebody got some land, like they tear down whole blocks, and they'll say, hey, we're gonna buy this block. But then you got some people like, no, I don't want to sell my house. And it basically just come down to it, and, push come to shove, your house going to get towed down. You know what I'm saying? If your house is the only house standing in between them putting up that mega mall, or building that highway, like I've seen some people, now you could fight it nowadays, but I've seen to where, like, it was a house when I was taking building construction technology. It was a house in some places. Now, I don't know the case for all places, but I know in some places you could fight to keep your house, and I've seen somebody build a highway around somebody's house because they bought out everybody else, and that person wanted to be stubborn, and so I don't know if they did this in spite, but this man's house was sitting in the middle of a highway. So eventually I'm pretty sure he was like, man, I can't sleep at night because I got cars zooming by my house, and so, that's a great point, and I could see why she would want to do that, being married to the king and everything like that. But yet and still, it's still, the prophet was sent and said that he worked evil because he took his man's vineyard, and, according to the Most High's law, he gave them that land, and
of course.
and so it wasn't the king's role to take that land like that. You know what I'm saying? If the man didn't want to give it to him, it was given to him by the Most High. And so, you know, it wasn't for the king or the king, you know, the first lady, whatever you want to call her, to make the decision. And by the means that she did it, she was like, set this man up. Like, frame this man. It's like the police. If they want to arrest you, they can't arrest you. They can't catch you doing what you're doing. They going to plant some dope in your car. And say,
don't say that,
you know,
don't say that. Huh? Don't say that, Judge. Don't tell people that, Judge. Don't tell people that, Judge. Don't tell people that.
Hey, it's the truth, you know, and that's the thing. Like, when you're in a position of trust like that, you know, and you're an authoritative figure, you know, as the police is like, man, we want to bust this dude. You know, let's plant a gun in his car. Let's plant some dope in his car, you know. And the man like, man, where does dope come from? You know, like, look, sir, you're going to jail. And this man is clean. He ain't did nothing wrong, you know, but it's just because they want this man either off the streets or, I mean, it's a lot of stuff that go on like that today, and this is just show you that mentality was even back then.
And you will know something, Jedediah. There is, I think, some people have been able to fight the government in this. If you're able to prove that your land is historic, you know, there are some lands that what they call historic district and historic land. If you're able to prove that, then legally you can keep your land. If you can prove that it's historic or has some type of historic or intrinsic value, you can keep your land. I just wanted to throw that out there that, you know, legally today, if you could prove that it's historic. And there are lands that are historic and that the government can't take over. But I just wanted to throw that out there, that's, you know. Yeah.
Brother Mercy, tune in next week, man. Tune in next week. The rest show. It's going to be called either the redemption or the redemption option. And we have a guest on the show. Go bring some information out.
I thought that was a good chapter.
Yeah.
Huh? Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Oh, you was talking the whole time?
Oh, yeah. You can't hear me?
You can't hear me? We just made us a good chapter. I was talking in the midst. I didn't know. I didn't.
Just reiterate. You know, when we get to the closing statements.
Okay. All right.
You know, but appreciate that, Brother Mercy. Hey, everybody that's tuning in online, make sure if you want to continue this dialogue, we're gonna go a little bit over our 2 hours. Just go ahead and call in. Guest call-in number is 516-595-8238. Number again is 516-595-8238. You also have the option to go back and listen in the archive to what you missed. So, you know, the decision is yours. But we're going to continue. We're going to finish out this last chapter. Brother Mercy, I'm going to mute your mic. All right, you're muted. You can press 1. So Brother Jeff, he didn't go in the queue, so we're just going to push forward with it, Shema. And I don't know if you want to lead it or you want me to lead it. It's whatever. We can go back and forth.
If you could lead it, that would be cool, because honestly, I wasn't prepared to lead the chapter, to be honest with you. I got to be honest to the listeners and you. So that's why I put that proposition out there as well. But I'm definitely going to comment on it and bring out my thoughts on it, but just wasn't prepared to lead it.
All right, cool. So, pull this thing up. All right, so main topic here is Micaiah warns King Ahab. Just give me a brief minute to pull it up. All right. first thing that I realized when I was reading this is in the first chapter that it was 3 years since the last war between Syria, which I said is Aram, and Israel. So it kind of gives us a time frame in between these two chapters. So we look, as we see, we talked about time, like as we go from one chapter to the next chapter, or even in the same chapter, we can't always determine the time, and it's not always like these writings are not, always covering everything. As we can see, it said, it was 3 years. So we know from chapter 21 to chapter 22, at least 3 years went by. And we don't have the literature on what happened in between that time. So that was one thing I wanted to point out, just starting off in verse 1. Going to verse 2, we see Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, visits the king of Israel. And we know during this era, during this time, the kingdom was split. So, they didn't operate as one unit, one Israel. You had Judah and you had Israel. And so there was the northern kingdom and southern kingdom. And so they came together at this point and was talking about, coming together to take the land back, Gilead. And so when you go to verse 5 through 12, when they came together, the kings, they were kind of inquiring of the prophets about going to battle. And so, they coming together for a particular reason, in which I kind of see just for us being in the situation that we in, we kind of divided, even when it comes to the book. You got some people believe one way, some people believe another way. You got different camps or whatever that don't really see eye to eye. But this kind of can show us that for the right reason, we can come together. If it's that serious to both parties, we should be able to set aside whatever and be able to come together for whatever the mission is that we are both looking to accomplish. But it is going to take one from one side at least to come. As we've seen that in reading this, we see that Jehoshaphat, he was the king of Judah. He went to visit, the king of Israel to bring this opposition or this plan to him that he wanted to accomplish. And I think he knew that he needed, Israel as well in order for them to accomplish this. So he had to kind of swallow his pride and actually go to him. And so, and the suggestion was made by the king of Israel to Jehoshaphat that they inquire from the prophets. And so I think that was wise for him to do. It's like, well, let's talk to the prophets, right? So and Shemai, since we're doing this like this, you can jump in whenever you want to.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
I didn't know
if you was leading to a certain point when you said it. I agree, because it goes back to what Jeff was saying. It is great, and we should.
Hey, your phone acting up again. I could barely hear you.
We should. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
like you said, I think it was right that you should inquire of the Most High through the prophets, just like Jeff said, brought out in a previous chapter. But I wasn't sure if you was going where you was going with it. That's why I kind of was waiting to see, because we do see that these prophets are yes men.
Right.
So we and I'm sure you was going that way with it. I just don't. That's why I was kind of waiting.
Oh, okay. All right, that's cool.
I'll let you finish.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we see in those verses that you say, let's inquire from the prophets. I think that's wise. And it says the prophets, the 400 prophets, said that, without reading it all, but the 400 prophets that they gathered together, which is a substantial number, and in my eyes, like they just got 400 prophets just hanging around like this, which we don't really hear about these large number of prophets, like, unless you just get into the book and read. If you just look at the number of prophets that actually had a scroll or a book titled after them, you wouldn't think it was this many prophets just hanging around, or those that was proclaimed to be prophets. I would say it like that, because even in today's age, you got a lot of people saying they prophets, but like the brother said, they really just yes man, and we're going to get in a little bit deeper into that as we move forward. And Brother Mercy, I see you in the queue. I'm going to have a breaking point here shortly. Matter of fact, do you want to let him in right now? I know I'm hosting, but...
Yeah, he come in.
He can come in, that's cool.
All right, Brother Mercy, you're live.
Yeah, brothers. I wanted to say, they said, let's ask the Lord. That's what they said, right? That's what just said what to do. Jehoshaphat answered, my army was at your command, but first let's ask the Lord. So he says, ask the Lord. Then Ahab sent for about 400 prophets. Now, where did Ahab get these 400 prophets? They could have came from those 400 prophets that Elijah didn't kill at Mount Carmel. Remember, there were 850 prophets. Elijah only had 450 executed. But there were 400 prophets left that ate at Jezebel's table. Maybe these prophets came from Jezebel. Because remember, Jezebel just had the other guy killed in the last chapter. And maybe that's why King George is coming down to see the king of Israel. Because maybe he heard about how this man was wrongly accused or whatever. It could be that, or it could be whatever it could be. But I'm just saying, look at what Jezebel just did. And so Jezebel is active and what's going on, so she still got her 400 prophets. And we talked about that last week. But, yeah, she got her 400 prophets left. It could have been those.
And I'm glad I let you come in, because I think that's vital moving forward. That's a good point. I wasn't here last week. I did go back and listen, but I probably missed some things because I kind of was listening to it while I was actively doing something. So, I probably missed some stuff on the playback, moving around. But so that's something I got to go back and look into. Actually, look in the book. So it was 850, you say?
Yeah, 850 prophets. We talked about this last week. There were 850 prophets, but Elijah only addressed the prophets of Baal. Those are the only prophets he addressed. And he had those prophets executed because the scripture says it. And so the Lord said, I reserved 7,000 having bowed down. So Baal was defeated at Mount Carmel. But there was another goddess there, which was Asherah. She wasn't defeated, nor was she addressed. So therefore, those prophets are still there. So...
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, they could be those, Definitely. And that just shows you the difference, between just the title alone don't mean, like, who do you belong to, I'm a prophet, like, prophet of God. We use the term God, a lot loosely, and they say, I'm the prophet of God. That's what you hear from churches, like, I'm the man of God, I'm the prophet of God, but we know God, that term, the foundation of that term does not capture witch, and that's I'm pretty sure they thought they was real live prophets, as we gonna see as we move forward. But appreciate that, Brother Mercy. I'm gonna take you out.
All right.
And just come back whenever you want to jump back in. So, going down, they're inquiring about the prophets is where we're at right now. When you go, let me hit verse 12. It said, and all the prophets prophesied, so, saying, go up to Ramoth Gilead and prosper for the Lord. That's the tetragrammaton. So they speaking for the Lord. So I'm pretty sure they think they speaking for he who causes to exist shall deliver it into the king's hands. So even though, like my brother said, they probably involved with Ashtaroth, they still think they could speak for the Most High. That's the part. That's the part I want to capture right there. You known as prophets of, they was known, the other people was known as prophets of Baal, and these are probably, like the brother said, probably, we don't know for sure, but, it's highly likely that these prophets of Ashtaroth. Yet and still, even if they not, here we see them speaking and using the Most High's name. They speaking of the name, they Hashemin right now. So they got that going on, right? And then we go to see that Jehoshaphat, after, this response, he wanted to ask another prophet other than the 400 in verse 7. And this is where we see the king of Israel inform Jehoshaphat of Micaiah. And so in this informing Jehoshaphat of this particular prophet, what I thought was funny is that the king states that he hates Micaiah because he don't prophesy good things about him, but evil. So this just shows you, like, if you that type of prophet that just seem like you ain't got nothing to say, like, good about somebody, then they most likely they gonna hate you. And this is the only reason why he hate him. That's the reason he gave. He only hate him because he don't prophesy good things when he prophesy about them. And I don't know if you want to jump in anytime, Brother Shammai. You just want me to finish everything, then you gonna come back?
Go ahead. I'm just listening right now. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So that's what he tell him. He basically tell him, yeah, it's a prophet, and he gives his name, and then he's like, yeah, but I hate this dude. Basically, is what had would go in the moderate conversation, like, yeah, it's another prophet we could talk to, but I hate that dude. He ain't got nothing good to say about me. All he do is prophesy evil things. And then, so, they go to him, and he speaks. So they send his messenger. The messenger asked Micaiah to prophesy good as all the other prophets. That's verse 13. And so Micaiah claims that he only speaks what he who causes to exist tells him. And so when I looked at that, I was kind of like, in a way, I was like, but then I understood afterwards because of what he told him. Because Micaiah tells the king to go to battle in verse 15. And then I was like, well, as we keep reading, we find out that they lost the battle. But then I had to remember that the Most High wanted them dead anyway. Or he wasn't with the person. So maybe the Most High did tell him to go to battle, knowing that the outcome wasn't going to be sweet. So sometimes we also got to look at that too. Like, somebody could prophesy to you as long as they don't say you're going to win. Because he didn't say, hey, you're going to win when you go to battle, like everybody else was saying. But the dude wanted him to say that, but he just said go to battle. So maybe the Most High did tell him, hey, go to battle, But I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen when you do go to battle. I'm just telling you, go to battle. And then the king, after that, it was kind of funny because the king pressed Micaiah for the word of Yah in verse 16. He's like, tell me what the Most High say, because, apparently that didn't sound right to him. I guess by the way he expressed it, just like, basically, like I said, just go to battle. But he didn't say the Most High said you're going to win, or the Most High said this, or whatever. He just said go to battle. So I think that's why he was like, hey, I want to hear the word of the Most High. Tell me the word of the Most High. And so after that, we get into, after he was pressed, he kind of elaborated a little bit in verses 17 through 23, in which he shares, to me, is a vision. And I want to get really deep into this. Shema, I want you to join in. And Brother Mercy, I see you in the queue. I'm going to let you in because, we about to switch gears and go into this other thing. So if you could, just kind of make it short, and then so we can move forward. You're live.
Yeah, Jedediah, I just wanted to say real quick, I know where you're going. I just wanted to say real quick, I wanted to bring home who Asherah was. Asherah had another name. It's called the Queen of Heaven. You got to Google, you got to research this stuff. And the Catholics, to this day, call Mary the Queen of Heaven. So Asherah is still alive today. I just wanted to throw that out there. Because yeah.
That's some great insight. And to connect to what the brother has said, Easter, Ishtar, yeah, all that's connected. So funny how they attach these things. Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I wanted to say is that Asherah was called the Queen of Heaven. Jeremiah addresses it in Jeremiah. But I just wanted to say that. And Mary is called the Queen of Heaven. And I just Googled Catholic Church, and they got a Catholic church named Mary, Queen of Heaven. They got a Catholic church named that. So, so I'm just saying, they're calling Mary the Queen of Heaven. So that's still valuable to this day. That's still applicable to this day. To this very day. We're still dealing with Asherah. I just wanted to say that. I'm done.
Good point, man. Like, that was great. You got something to say on that, Brother Shema? Or you want to just keep it pushing?
I'm just listening now, fellas. Y'all.
All right. So now we get into this verses 17 through 23, and I want to address this kind of a little bit more vivid than I would, or as I was going through. I want to take a little time on this. It says, you know, when he was pressed, then I guess he came out, and he was like, he said that he saw Israel scattered upon the hills as sheep that have not a shepherd. And the Lord said, so now he's saying what the Lord said, these have no master. Let them return every man to his house in peace. And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, did I not tell thee that he would prophesy no good concerning me, but evil? So, first thing he said is what he saw. Now, did he literally see Israel scattered upon hills as sheep? Or was it like a vision? We would have to say this is a vision. I don't know, Brother Mercy, if you went out the queue, but if you would, go out the queue, and if you're trying to get back in, hit one again, because I didn't see if you left or not. All right, so moving forward. So, you know, as I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, this is a vision. You know, he's responding in a vision, like kind of like what Brother Jeff said. You know, he's telling them, but he's not like being straight up like this is what is gonna happen. He's kind of painting a picture. You know, he's using like poetic tactics to get his point across. And in this scenario or example, he's, you know, just saying, you know, I see Israel scattered on hills, and the Lord said, these have no master. Let them return every man to his house in peace. So it could be, just like interpreting it, it could be that he's saying, look, you know, you got people out here, you know, far as with this war thing, you know, and what I'm seeing is that these people have no master. Like, they just out here like this, and they should return to their houses and not go to war, basically. That's kind of like what I'm getting from it. I could be wrong. Anybody else can get an interpretation. So, you know, going forward, he said, and the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, like I said, you know, as he stated before, look, man, I told you, this dude ain't got nothing good to say, man. I don't even know why we talking to him. I told you I don't like this dude, but if you want to talk to him, so, you know, whatever. But I told you ahead of time. So, you know, the king of Israel, he's not feeling what's being said. And then in 19 he said, and he said, hear thou, therefore, the word of the Lord. So again, you know, he's speaking for the Most High. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all hosts of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left hand. Now, before I move forward, again, to me, reading this in context, he just gave what he saw as a vision. The first time he said he seen Israel scattered. Now he's saying he's seen the Lord sitting on his throne and all the hosts of heaven standing by him. If he saw this literally, that means he was standing up in heaven. And he was standing right there watching them. So putting it in proper perspective, we either got to believe at this point that this man is standing in heaven, and he was in some time standing in heaven and saw this. Or he's just he's explaining a vision that he saw which represents something. It's not the physical aspect of what he's saying. It's representing something. All right? And it's a reason why I'm kind of going deep into this. I saw, and I believe Brother Shabbat know why. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the hosts of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left hand. And the Lord said, who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said of this manner, and another said of that manner. And there came forth a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, I will persuade him. And the Lord said unto him, wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. Now, again, putting this in proper perspective. If this is literal, that means the spirit is actually going to go and get in all these prophets' mouths. Okay? And he's able to do this. Like he can separate himself and go and be with all these different people at one time. Or this is a vision that represents something. But let's keep moving forward. Thou shalt persuade him and prevail also. Go forth and do so. Now therefore, behold, the Lord has put a lying spirit. Now I say the Lord did this. Put a lying spirit in the mouth of all the prophets, and the Lord has spoken evil concerning thee. Now, going back, he asked him, tell me what the Lord said. Now, I went over this. He said, go to battle. Right? Now we come across this. And he was pressed. He said, tell me what he said. So now I think he was straightforward at first. Hey, just go to battle. With nothing else, no other, let's say no elaboration.
Instructions? Yeah.
Yeah, like with no elaboration, no elaborative information. All he did was straightforward say, go to battle. That wasn't good enough for, the king. He wanted
nobody.
He wanted to know more. He was like, tell me what the Lord said, And so he's like, okay, let me tell you this vision I saw. And he goes and he talks about them being scattered. Then he comes back and he said, I seen, the Most High on his throne and some spirits around him or whatever. Now, let me tell you what I believe, okay? What he saw, he didn't literally see it, of course, in my eyes. So you could throw out the window that it was an actual spirit that came to the Lord and said, hey, let me go lie. Let me go be a lying spirit to these people. Let me go get in their mouth and make them lie. That's not what that is saying. There wasn't no angel or spirit up in heaven that literally walked up to the Lord and said, hey, let me be a lying spirit, and the Most High sent him. I believe what this is representing is saying that, look, your prophets are liars. The Most High did not say you was finna win. But the Most High do want you to go to battle so you can get knocked off. Because he said, that you deserve death, basically. That's what I'm getting from this. Not that a little like...
You want to know something?
What's up?
You want to know, it's crazy you just said something. I know we not at Job, but y'all got to allow me to say this. He just said that this wasn't no actual spirit. It basically was
hey, you getting low. I don't know what happened. Maybe it's the signal or something. But
you hear me now? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, he said that you basically was some liars. Your prophet basically some liars. What's funny is I brought something out in Job, and I'm going to bring it out when we get to Job, but I got to say it now, man. I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all got to excuse me, but you said something just, you know what, maybe I should hold it, but I feel like I need to say it because you just brought something out for me. So in Job, how the three men supposed to come comfort Job. And then at the very last chapter, he said that y'all did not say anything right. Only my servant Job did. A lot of people don't know that, right? But in the very beginning, the very first person that talked to Job said that a spirit came to him and let him know that no angels are faithful. He doesn't trust his angels, and then his servants either. But yet, he asked the adversary, have you tried my faithful servant Job? So my thing is, when you said what you said, it made me realize that, adding together at the very last chapter, we say y'all didn't say anything right, that this person that was saying the spirit came and said to him, basically was lying. Oh, no. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You will see what I'm saying when we get to Job. And hopefully you remember what you just brought out. That's great.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to remember it because I just know that a lot of people use this scripture. And I'm glad, Brother Mercy, you just came in the queue. Because I believe Brother Mercy had a show entitled something about the line, was the spirit a lie, did he lie, or something like that. And I wanted to listen to it. I think I tuned in for a little bit, but I had to go. So I know he has something to input. I don't know what the outcome of his show was and what was said, so maybe he could share a little bit of that with us now. So, Brother Mercy, you live, and then we're going to move forward.
Yeah, Jedediah, I love you, brother, and I love you, Shammai, and even I love Orek Dean and everybody's listening. Let me say this, first of all. This is not literal. This is a vision, number one. And I'm going to tell you what's really going on. King Ahab done paid them prophets to lie, because they are the prophets of Asherah. They eat at Queen Jezebel's table. But they're not talking about this, though. But, see, they're not talking about this because Micah can't prove it anyway. See, sometimes what you can't prove, you don't talk about. Now, understand that King Ahab just killed Naboth. You just remember that. He killed Naboth, and Jezebel done put 2 lying witnesses up come on now. This is their occupation. They done put 2 lying witnesses up to testify against Naboth. So why wouldn't they put their false prophets up lying to do this? I mean, you see what they did. Jezebel just put up 2 lying witnesses. So we got proof of that. But, of course, they're not talking about this. Ain't nobody talking about Naboth. They done killed Naboth. Ain't nobody talking about Naboth. But the Most High forgot about Naboth. That's why King Ahab got to die. Because Most High ain't forgot. But ain't nobody talking about that. See, that's what's amazing about that. Ain't nobody talking about what they did to Naboth. Now, if you look at what they did to Naboth, then you can understand what's going on now. These prophets are lying. But Micah can't prove the prophets are lying because everybody believes the prophets of Asherah. Because remember, Elijah did not address those prophets. I keep saying it over and over. Elijah did not call them prophets liars. So everybody probably still believes what them prophets are saying as true. Just like everybody believes what the Catholic Church is saying. Everybody believes what the Catholic Church. The Pope can't lie. Everything he says is right. So now, like I said, you can't prove that they lied. So therefore, he says, well, I had a vision. And the Lord sent the lying spirit. I love Michael's vision. I love his vision because King Ahab knows what's really going on, but they're not talking about what's really going on. So he can't speak plainly. So now Micah speaks through a vision. That's what happens when the Most High can't speak to you straight up. He'll use a vision. And that's what's going on right here, because there are other variables that's going on that they're not talking about. Naboth getting murdered, all false witnesses, 2 false witnesses. They're not talking about that. They're not talking about Elijah, not talking about the 400 prophets of Asherah. They're not talking about that. So Micah now got a vision. See, when the Most High can't speak to you plainly, he'll speak to you through a vision. But the vision is not literal, and it was what it represents. That's all I want to say.
Hey, appreciate that, Brother Mercy. I'm going to take you out, and I'm going to speak on that a little bit. I'm glad that we see eye to eye with that because, and I'm glad that you brought out the whole Naboth and everything because it takes reading in context to see this. a lot of people, they run to this and say, look, the Most High used a lying spirit. You know, it's spirits in heaven that'll lie. You know what I'm saying? And the Most High allow them. No, that's not what's going on. You need to reassess and read this in context and see that this is a vision and it represents something that's physically happening. What he's saying is all these prophets, because we got to keep in mind that he's talking to Jehoshaphat right now. And the king of Israel is standing there and like, look, I told you, this dude ain't got nothing good to say. Because all the prophets that he done brought together, the 400, they done saying something different. So now it puts him in a compromising position. But at first he told me, yeah, go to battle. And then, you know, because this Jehoshaphat, he the one came to the king of Israel and trying to get them to go and take the land back. But he want to know what the prophets, the king of Israel said, well, let's ask the prophets. And then, you know, Jehoshaphat kind of felt some type of way, like, man, hold on, man. All these prophets saying this, these 4 other prophets, man, is this somebody else we could ask? Maybe he had discernment and was like, something ain't right. You know, and then, you know, when he was like, yeah, it's another dude, but I don't really like that dude. Because he already know this dude ain't finna lie like these 400 prophets and have Jehoshaphat going down here for nothing with his people. You know what I'm saying? And so when he was like, look, man, quit playing around with me. Tell me what the Most High said. Like, I'm not stupid. You know, I'm from the stock of Judah. You know what I'm saying? Like, put me up on what's real, man. Like, I don't trust these 400 prophets. You tell me what's going on. And so he turns around and say, look, this is what I saw. First vision he told him about, look, everybody needs to go home. That's basically what he said. Look, I see people out there looking lost on the hilltops, and ain't nobody with no master. That right there tells you that Ahab about to get knocked off. That right there tells you in the midst of this battle, Ahab finna get knocked off. If you can interpret dreams or visions, because that's what I get from it. Then when you go to the second one, it's basically point blank telling you if you can interpret what he's saying. He's like, look, these people talking about they speaking for the Most High, and we know that the Malachim speak for the Most High. Them is messengers. You know what I'm saying? So he's basically saying, like, all these people say they speaking for the Most High, they liars. Because they say this is what y'all said, if you can envision this, basically, if this is what they saying, this is what must had to happen. A spirit said, hey, I'm going to go be a lion spirit in their mouth. It ain't literally happened, but because they saying they speaking for the Most High as a malach, then it's a lion malach. You know what I'm saying? That's what this man is telling them. He's like, look, man, don't trust what these 400 prophets saying. They lying. All 400 of them. That's what basically he's saying. But I'm going to move forward, man. We at 33 right now, so let's push forward. But I just wanted to put some emphasis on that because I know a lot of people believe that it was a literal angel that walked up to the Most High throne, and this man must have to been up in the Shamayim standing there watching this, if that's to be literal. And I just want people to put it in proper perspective, use the context, and realize that this is a vision. The Most High ain't sent no lying spirit out of the Shamayim to get in these people's mouth, okay? And then, so basically, you know, keep moving forward. Verse 27, you know, Micaiah gets slapped and put in prison because of what he said, which is, you know, he told the truth. And, you know, the king didn't like that. And so we see it come to pass. The king dies in battle, verses 29 through 40. And then after that, you know, his son reigns in his stead he reigns in the place of his father Ahab. We see that in verse 51, and then I just want to read 52 and 53, stating that this was also a wicked king. I'm going to just take a few things and just express them. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but it said he did evil in the sight of the Lord and walked in the way of his fathers and in the way of his mother. His mother, I believe that's Jezebel, right? And in the way of Jeroboam, who made Israel sin, for he served Baal and worshipped him, and provoked to anger the Lord God of Israel according to all that his father had done. So basically, we keep seeing this, that these people walked in the way of their fathers. They didn't walk like David did, and that's kind of the way the story is going. That concludes the chapter. Brother Shemai, the floor is yours.
I'm just sweeping the floor behind all of the cutting you did, because you cut the scriptures bit by bit. No, I really don't have anything to add to what you put out there and what Brother Mercy was commenting on. I think you did a beautiful job, and that's all. I don't really have anything extra.
All right, cool. So, that pretty much concludes our show. What we would like to do is we're going to go into closing remarks at this time for at least about 7 minutes, I guess. I would like to hear if there's anything that anybody wants to say. As far as those who have called in, that's on the switchboard, Brother Jeff, Brother Mercy. If y'all have anything y'all want to say before we close out the show, feel free. I see Brother Jeff in the queue. We will let you in. Just be a little brief, and then Brother Shemai, after they go, then you go with your closing remarks. Then I'll go and I'll pray us out. So we got Brother Jeff first. You're live.
Oh, yes, well, it's really just that question. So when Elijah first told Ahab about what the Most High said, how he was going to destroy him, but then Ahab humbled himself, and 21:29, it says that he wouldn't bring it to pass in his days, but in his son's days. Did that change right here in this chapter when he was actually killed in battle? So that's a question I had. So I know you said there was a 3 years somewhere in there gap. So when Ahab actually died, was this still according to what was told to him back in 21:29? Was it during his son's days and not during his own days? That's kind of like the question I had on that.
All right, so reading carefully, and, you could take this with a grain of salt because I'm just kind of just looking at it as you are. But what he said, that basically he would die, and the dog would, is that what you're talking about with saying that, the blood that he shed, he would shed it as well? And then we say he humbled himself, and he was like, in 29, seest thou have humbled that Ahab humbled himself before me, because he humbled himself before me, I will not bring the evil in his days. So just taking it word for word, he said he would not bring the evil, and then it has a colon. And it says, but in his son, so basically the evil that he's speaking of specifically is followed by this colon. He says, but in his son's days will I bring the evil upon his house. So this is more so geared towards his house, not his death, is what I'm getting.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, yeah, that's all I had right there. That cleared that up. Appreciate that.
All right. Thanks for the question. If that's all you have, I'm going to take you out.
Okay.
All right. Brother Mercy, you're live.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that those 400 prophets was eating at Queen Jezebel's table. So if those are the same 400 prophets, then we know the Jezebel was paying them, or Jezebel was, they were benefiting from Jezebel. I just wanted to say that. Number two, I wanted to say, King Ahab, now if he so-called repented, you see what he just did to Micah in the next chapter. He threw Micah into jail. So, I mean, I don't know if y'all heard of the running back Ezekiel Elliott for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm a Cowboy fan. That's my running back, man. And he got in trouble in college off of assaulting his girlfriend, okay? Then, I know my team. I know Jerry Jones got him the best lawyers money could buy. So, they investigated throughout the whole year, and this guy getting the bar fights. He on St. Patrick's Day lifted up a girl's shirt. I mean, I'm saying all this to say, he did something wrong, and they're investigating that, and he got lawyers to protect him from that, and he's steady acting crazy. So what I see in King Ahab here is, yeah, the Most High say that in the previous chapter, but look what he did in the next chapter. Did he really learn? Has his heart really repented? Because look what he done to Micah. When Micah told the truth, look what he did to Micah. The Bible says you're not supposed to do his prophets no harm. And, he just went and threw Micah in jail. So I'm just like, well, he got to pay for that too. So I'm just like, yeah, the Most High said that, but he's not learning. So he's got to pay for his sin, man. And he keeps sinning over. And what I'm learning from this is that even when the Most High says that, it seems to be a postponement. He says, well, I'm going to postpone it to your son's day. But then King Ahab, the next chapter go on, Micah tells the truth, and then he goes out and throws him in jail. So he's got to pay for that. But I just wanted to say, it seems like a continual pattern with King Ahab. It don't seem like he's really repenting. It looks like he's repenting, but it's not really repenting because it don't seem like his heart is really changing because he keep doing the same thing over and over. So I just wanted to say that, what do you guys think about that, about people who it appears they're changing? They might do some type of ritual or whatever, but they end up doing the same thing. So that's all I want to say.
Yeah, I guess Brother Shemar speak after I do. But I just feel like, it's just like ain't nothing new under the sun, man. Like, people do it. You know what I'm saying? We read these accounts talking about they repented and all this, and then they turn around. You know what I'm saying? If it's in you, it's in you. You going to do what you going to do. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day. And I just feel like the guy was wicked. You can't sit here and operate the way you operate and it just go away that fast. Like, I know people want to believe that, like you accept something into your heart and then you just automatically change. Nah, it's going to take more, and it's going to take more than just feeling sorry at the moment, because a situation has now came upon you that it causes you to feel humiliated, because the word humble and humiliated are like words. So sometimes people they not really humbled, they just humiliated. So that's really what it is, it's the same thing. So it's if you remain humble, some people shake that humiliation and they go right back to where they was, square one. So that's my answer there, and I'll let Shemai give his answer. Then Shemai, just go ahead and go into your closing statements.
All right, so the question was, what was the exact question again? I'm sorry.
What do you think about people who? I mean, in the previous chapter, it looks like Ahab has repented.
Because he ended up doing the same thing.
With Micah, look what he did to Micah in the next chapter. You know, of course it was 3 years later, but look what he did to Micah. He should have been able to say, "Oh yeah, you know what? Since Micah told me the truth, I'm not going to punish him, throw him in jail, and all that, because you're not supposed to do the prophets any harm." So he knew that you're not supposed to harm God's prophets. So, I mean, he should have been able to, at this point, since he quote unquote repented, he should have been able to not punish Micah. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to be thrown in jail. I don't know about y'all. I don't want to be thrown in jail. So I don't like going to jail. So
here's my answer to that. And I'm going to be an advocate. You know me.
Don't forget he got slapped, too.
I'm going to be an advocate. You know me. I try to look at all aspects if I can possibly. And I know everybody does. We all try. But I will say this. You said something key. You said 3 years. It says a just man will fall. 7 times is not a real number, so we do understand that, you know, you will fall throughout your walk and throughout your journey. Even if you repent, it is a chance that you can fall similarly, maybe not exactly, but similarly in the same way which you fell before. But the thing is the progressional stages of not doing what you did exactly again. You might have somebody that was somebody that smoked. Well, this is not sin. This is not a sin. I'm just trying to give an example. 15 packs of cigarettes a day for 10 years. And then they wanted to change that about themselves. They know it was not good for their body, it was not good for their health, and it was really not good for them to carry out what they wanted to do for their family and the Most High. So they started to diminish that, you know, knock it out, and, you know, got down to maybe 1 pack, you know, but they still did something similar. They still smoked, you know, but it wasn't the same amount. And I'm not justifying it. What I'm just trying to say is it's not right what he did at all, okay? But was it exactly the same thing? Some people got to get better. Some people are faster than getting better than others. Some people could stop doing something at a drop of a dime. Some people it takes longer. So I agree with brother. I think that's what brother Yadiel was going towards when he said what he said just right before me and you said what we said. That's my answer, man. I mean, I think a real true repentance is really having it in your heart and really doing it. But I really do think that sometimes we might fall. The thing is to get back and just not to do that exact same thing again. That's what we got to try to do. That's all I got. I could be wrong, but that's what I believe. Oh, closing statement. That's what you wanted me to go to, right? Closing statements. Before I do my closing statements, I want to know if you was going to bring up what me and you was talking about. That's one. You might. I don't know. So you already know what I'm talking about.
I am, but you can bring it up. I mean, it don't matter. Either one of us.
Well, I'll let you close it out on that. But what I will say is I really hope you all tune in next week. Brother Jeff, Brother Mercy. Invite some people, you know. We have a guest that's coming on. He's going to talk to us about some things that, you know, he is doing, and a lot of people are. Bring some awareness, bring some probably some history behind what he's presenting. It's an option. It's not something that we all need to do or anything like that, but I think it is something that we need to know. So I really will appreciate if you all tuned in 11 Central Standard Time and inform people to listen as well. What else? I enjoyed today's show. I think that a lot came out of it. I think contextual information came out, like as far as with the putting the lion spirit in their mouths. I think that was a good thing that y'all brought out, and Brother Mercy capitalized on. I appreciate Brother Jeff for bringing out as far as making sure that we bring things to the Most High first before we make a decision, whether it's through his prophet, as far as like get information or get the answer, whether it's through a prophet or through the Most High himself. There's a lot of good things that came out today, and I hope that it touched those that's listening right now or listening later. Follow me on Twitter if you have a Twitter. At Shema Ben _Ya _L. If you have a Twitter, I'm on there now again. And on Facebook, same thing, Shema Ben Yael. It still is telling me though that we understand that's a title. That's his student. Or, whenever I feel that I'm able to be a teacher, his scholar, I guess you could say. But Shema Ben Yael has been my name. And that's it, man. I think you did. I was going to bring out our conversation, and I hope you all participate in that as well. And I'm done. Shalom, Mishpacha, Lehifrayot, Baruch.
All right, brothers and sisters.
Baruch.
Yeah. All right. So I just want to, show my appreciation to all those who called in today and all those who listen or who will be listening. I just want to really say, I appreciate every time Brother Jeff come on, man, because he brings a different aspect as well as Brother Mercy. But we get Brother Mercy all the time, so, it's very rare that Brother Jeff is available to actually partake in a show, and I really appreciate when he's able to voice his view on scriptures and things of that nature. So, thank you for calling and tuning in. Brother Mercy, it's always a pleasure. Like I said, we always get you. We missed you a few times, but, you're pretty consistent with coming on the show. Another thing, I went to tune into the Brother Mercy show on Thursday, man. I don't know what happened. You didn't have a show. I know you didn't share anything, so maybe I should have took that as a clue. But, yeah, man, just keep us informed on your show, man, what topics you got and everything like that. And if I'm available, I know it's during the week, but if I'm available, I'll call in and support. And everybody else do the same.
I'll be asleep, Brother Mercy. I ain't gonna lie to you, Brother Mercy. I gotta listen back to your shows. I'll be asleep at that time, man. I work overnights. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Another thing the brother spoke about, other social media platforms that we have. We got his Talk Ones Talk Radio Facebook page. Make sure if you're not, in that group, if you don't mind, go ahead and search it out and then ask to be added. We'll add you. We got YouTube. I just finished uploading last show. There's a few shows missing. I think it's like 2 more I got to do, and then we should be up to par with that. I was having trouble getting this one uploaded for a few reasons, but now it just finished uploading. So that one's up from last week, and then I'm going to try to get this one up. And then I know we have talked about it, and it's one of the things that we said we wanted to try to do is utilize other days of the week since we got them. Me and Brother Shema talked about actually getting on during the week since now, his schedule is a little different, and trying to find a day. It might not be a set day, but we want to at least do one time every other week maybe of, speaking Hebrew or dealing with Hebrew, like learning a language, sharing different things that we have come across and just trying to build and get a little more proficient with the language as far as like whether it's biblical Hebrew, dealing with reading the text, or, modern Hebrew speaking and things of that nature. We want to kind of expound a little bit and also, get more people involved. If you're interested, just be on the lookout. It probably won't start till 2 weeks from now, but just be on the lookout. We'll post on the page, and we'll also share the information once we have it locked down on the show. But just be on the lookout for that. We definitely want to do something, even if it's like 30 minutes. It'll be probably during the day because of our schedules, so it'll be during the daytime. But you could always go back and listen, and I will also upload those to YouTube on his Talk Once Talk Radio YouTube page. So trying to give y'all some different variety of stuff, here in the near future. And that's pretty much it, man. I'm going to go into prayer. So if you all would clear your mind.
Before you do, real quick, everyone, I gave you false information. It's Shema Ben Yah _L for you Twitter people. SHAMABENYAH _EL. All right, I just wanted to clear that. That's on YouTube. That's on Twitter, and it's on Instagram. So there we go. Go ahead, y'all.
All right. Speaking of that, I guess, I never gave y'all a personal email. My personal email now is Yedidya, so that's YEDIDYAH@yahoo.com. So if it's anything you just want to strictly, ask me or just deal with me, that's my personal email concerning this type of stuff. So, what else? And then, of course, we got, collective email is his Talk Once Talk Radio at Google or Gmail at gmail.com. You can hit us up on that. So, without further ado.
We had Jeff in the queue, too. Sorry. I just saw him. He got hopped in the queue like 4 minutes ago.
Brother Jeff, you live? Brother Jeff?
Oh, no, I didn't have anything. I forgot to queue out.
Oh,
okay. Yeah, so if everybody would clear their minds, we're going to uplift the Father, our Creator. Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you, uplift you, bless your holy name, Baruch Atah. We love you, and we just want to assure that our brother Orekhdin is cared after, which we know that you are caring, loving, and we know that is something that you're going to do automatically, but we just want to make our request known that we're thinking about them, and we just want to make sure from our standpoint that we are making a request known to you, that we are concerned about his safety and his well-being. We ask that you just continue to be with us throughout the day. Bless and keep us all. In your holy name we pray. Amen.